Hey YouTube, this is Jaden coming at you from Team Shadow Strike, and this is going to be a deck profile on my Thunder Empire or Batzz deck profile. So anyway, before I get into this deck profile, I want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Lewis Lim on eBay. I was having to find a couple of more of the secret packs to complete this deck profile, and he's based in Singapore. And I looked all over in the States because I usually try to order, from, inside the country, when I ever order cards, for simplicity and quicker and all this and that and, custom fees and all that. It's just simpler. But the only place I could find was a couple of stores, which will remain nameless, who were wanting me to charge me $80 to $90 just for bots. And the reason was that nobody had any, so they could literally set the price at anywhere they wanted. And after telling them, look, people can order them, here for a lot less, get more cards, and save quite a bit of money and get more for their buck. Both people that I talked to from both of the online stores told me they just didn't care, and they said then order from them, and that's exactly what I did. I believe raising your price to an ungodly number just because you can is not good business. I have sold decks, I've sold cards, I've been dealing in competitive card games for well over 10 years, 15, I've been playing competitive card games, since, I remember playing Pokemon when I was like 8 or 9 years old, so, I have been, I feel that my knowledge of the card game world as a whole is something, that's very valuable, and I do feel I'm very knowledgeable on the subject. And this guy's saying, well, we can set the price of whatever he wants since there's no one else, and, I even said, well, I even offered him, more above value just so I didn't have to wait longer, and I finally said, screw it. Went on eBay. This guy literally sells secret packs. Like, if there's a secret pack in Vanguard or Buddy Fight that you want, he sells them. And I went to him and I said, look, I need 2 bot secret packs. I need bots X-Link because I hadn't gotten any of those yet. And he made me a hell of a deal. And I even paid $5 extra to get it shipped here even quicker. And I got it in, I think, 10 days from Singapore. And that is absolutely amazing. But his name is Lewis Lim 1984 on eBay. All one word. Please, if you are looking for secret packs, go check him out. He is really, really nice. He helped me out. Just be aware of the time change because obviously he's located in Singapore. But the buying process was probably the easiest that I've ever had with any buyer on eBay. He communicated well, we got the deal done, and I couldn't be happier. So, and I will also be sending this video to him because I sent in his feedback that I would be giving a shout out to him, to all my friends, and well, I consider my followers on here my friends. So, if you are looking to buy the secret packs, I know it's a pain to order from out of country. Because you have to wait a bit longer, but that is literally the only inconvenience you'll have if you order from him. He is real easy to deal with, he's fair, and it's the best place to go if you need secret packs. And he sells quite a bit, so if there is another card you're looking for, just tell him what it is, and I say with all faith that he will do whatever he can to help you and make your buying experience awesome. So, and that was not something he asked me to do. That's just me giving him a free shout out because I thought he was absolutely amazing. So, Lewis Lim, thank you very much. And I definitely will be ordering from him in the future. So, we're going to get into Batz's deck profile. Batzz, obviously, but Gao's buddy in Season 4. Just quickly, I really like Batzz. I think as a character, he's very fun. He's different from what Gao's had, because at first he had Drum, who was just thick-headed, even though Drum is still my favorite card and character from Buddy Fight. He had Ball, who was just kind of like a whiner until he started learning a little bit, because, well, let's face it, he was a baby. And then you have Batzz, who legitimately just does not care, who is stubborn, hard-headed, and has a taste for being just, I don't want to say, I guess, mean, you know, but I think he's a great character that will develop into a really good one. And I really, really love the play style of his deck. It is arguably the most aggressive deck that Dragon World has had. And I'm going to get into this and explain all my card choices. So without further ado, let's jump straight into this deck profile. So, obviously, our buddy is Demon Lord Dragon Batzz. So, Batzz, he is a size 2 monster with 7,000 power, 2 crits, and 4k defense. His call cost is pay 1 gauge, which I find that very cool. Gao, all 3 of his buddies, their call cost has always been 1 gauge. I just thought of that. And then he has 2 abilities. The first of which, during your turn, this card on your field cannot be destroyed. So that gives him, your opponent can't like cast a spell to get a counterattack. They can't use a card to destroy him. During your turn, the only thing they can do is bounce him back to your hand. And then his second skill is at the beginning of your attack phase for this turn, this card gets double attack. And then if you have 4 life or less for this turn, this card gets power 3,000 plus 3,000 power and triple attack instead. So he can be a 10,000 power 2 crit triple attacker by himself. He can hit 12,000 with the Dragon Arc Sword that gives 2,000 power to all your Thunder Empires. So really, really cool. And I'm looking forward to Batzz getting a secret flag. So, that's our buddy Batzz. We do play 2 size 3s in the form of 2 copies of Super Sun Dragon Ball Soleil. So Ball Soleil is actually a very, very good card. It's probably the best Sun Dragon card that was released for Ball. And with that being said, it's also can be splashed in any 3 of the Dragon Worlds. It's a size 3 monster with 7,000 power, 2 crits, and 7k defense. His call cost is pay 2 gauge and put this card on top of a monster on your field. And he has 2 abilities. The first of which, if there is 1 or more cards in this monster's soul, this card gets +1 critical. And if you would be dealt damage, that damage is reduced by 1, and that is a continuous effect. So as long as he has a soul, any damage you would take is reduced by 1. And then his other ability is Counter. You may pay 1 gauge if you do destroy a monster in your opponent's center. So you can use this to clear out your opponent's center monster. If they're not paying attention, you can catch people off guard with this really, really frequently. Unless of course they know what this card does and they know how to work around him. And he has 2 other skills. He has the double attack and soul guard. So really, really good. And then for size 2, we obviously play 4 copies of our Demon Lord Dragon Batzz, for our buddy, already covered him. And then we play 4 copies of Resurrected Arc Dragon Batzz. This is the Batzz that came in the Thunder Empire trial deck. So his ability, he's a size 2 monster with 7,000 power, 2 crits, and 4k defense. Same stats as this Batzz. His call cost is pay 1 gauge. And then he has 2 abilities. The first one is, during your turn, this card on the field cannot be destroyed. So he is similar to this Batzz, but the difference is their second skills. This guy, his ability is at the beginning of your attack phase. If you have an item equipped, this card gets double attack. Then if you have 4 life or less, destroy a monster on your opponent's field. So He does still get double attack, which is really important for certain cards in the deck where we have to hit certain number of attacks. And if you're at 4 life or less, instead of gaining triple attack, he lets you pop 1 monster on your opponent's field. So that's all the size 2s that we play. Next, for size 1s, we play 4 copies of Misfiring Demon Globes. This card is really, really good, and I want to just take a moment and say I freaking love this card's art and its full art style. I really do. It's a size 1 monster with 3,000 power, 1 crit, and 1k defense. He has 2 abilities, the first of which is called Split the Reward. And it's whenever another Thunder Empire monster enters your field, you may put the top card of your deck into the gauge and draw 1 card. Split the Reward only activates once per turn. And then his other skill is whenever this card attacks for this turn, a card on your field gets +1 critical. So he's really good to, say, sit next to your buddy, Batzz, and say you swing with him first. You can give +1 crit to Batzz, so then if he has triple attack, he swings for 3 crit and 3 times. And even if not, he can still swing for 3 crit twice. So Misfiring Demon Globes is a 4 of in this deck, easy. Next we play Replenisher Pentar. So, Replenisher Pentar, he is a size 1 monster with 3,000 power, 2 crits, and 1k defense. His ability is when this card enters the field, if you have a Thunder Empire item equipped, you draw 1 card. So, and it's not once per turn, so say you can call 1, and you can call over, and you can call over, and you can call over, and you can he's just really good because he helps you thin your deck. So, and, you know, 3,000 power and 2 crits is pretty good for just a basic draw monster. So next we play 3 copies of Trilight of Black Sword. This is a dual world monster for Dragon World and Darkness Dragon World. It is a size 1 monster with 1,000 power, 1 critical, and 1,000 defense points. He has one skill, and that is whenever this card attacks, you may choose a monster on your opponent's field and pay 1 gauge. If you do, destroy that monster. And he also has the double attack skill. So he is really good because you can say if your opponent has a monster on the field with 1,000 defense, you can send this at them, pay 1 gauge, and destroy another monster on their field. And under the sword, he becomes 3,000, so he might be able to hit something else. Very, very good and very, very underrated. And then lastly, we play 3 copies of Raid Officer Delta. Excuse me. Raid Officer Delta is a size 1 monster with 6,000 power, 1 crit, and 1k defense. His skill is whenever this card attacks, if you have a Thunder Empire if you have another Thunder Empire on your field, put the top card of your deck into your gauge. So he helps you grow your gauge. And what I like about him is he has 6,000 power as a size 1, and under the sword he becomes 8,000. That means he can attack a Thora by himself. In Prism Dragons, and I really like how in the show they've given him kind of a little bit of a character as well as Pentar. Pentar, he kind of does that. They both kind of have a little bit of a characterization when they're played. I think that's really cool. So, anywho, that is all of our size 1s. Next, we play our items. We play 4 Arc Dragon Sword. This is the one you hear me keep mentioning. It is the main item of the deck. It is a 6,000 power, 2 crit item. Its equip cost is pay 1 gauge, and then it has 2 abilities. The first of which, this card on your field cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, so the only thing they can do is bounce it to your hand. And then the second ability is all Thunder Empire monsters on your field get 2,000 power, plus 2,000 power. So that makes all your Thunder Empire monsters a little bit stronger. Next, we play 2 copies of Dual Spark. Dual Spark is another item, obviously. It is 5,000 power, 1 crit. Its equip cost is pay 1 gauge and pay 1 life. This card cannot attack the left or the right, but it has double attack. So you can use this to just kind of beat your opponent down. I wasn't sure about this card at first, because I don't like it saying it can't attack the outside monsters, but it is really good in certain situations, and I have found that I do appreciate it. I do, however, also, because I do like this one as well, I am playing 1 copy of Bolting Knuckle. Bolting Knuckle is a item with 5,000 power and 2 crits. Its equip cost is pay 1 gauge. It has an ability of you may pay 1 life. If you do for this turn, this card gets +1 critical, and it can only be used once per turn. I like it because if you find yourself rushing for game, you can actually use this to pay 1 life and make it go to 3. And if you're, say, you're at triple attack with bots and you have globes on the field, you can make him become 3, this become 3, and you can just really kind of rush your opponent down with a lot of high crit attacks that they have to deal with. So that is 7 items in total. I don't normally play this many items, but in Thunder Empire, one of our main 2 of our cards, the second bots, and one of our main draw cards requires a Thunder Empire weapon to be equipped, so it is very imperative that we see one, so that's why I play 7. Then for our spells, we first play 4 copies of the brand new Arc Dragon Shield, and we have, of course, the beautiful secret rare versions. So you may only cast this card during an attack on your opponent's turn if you do not have a monster in the center and you have a Thunder Empire on your field. Cast cost is pay 1 gauge, nullify the attack, and draw 1 card. So this gives you the ability to draw some more cards. That's always nice. And then also I play 4 copies of Blue Dragon Shield. Blue Dragon Shield, you may only cast this card during an attack on your opponent's turn. If you don't have a monster in the center, nullify the attack and put the top card of your deck into the gauge, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows what Blue Dragon Shield does. It's been around forever. So that's for our shields. Some people play like 2 blue and then 2 green, but I prefer having all the gauge because this deck does require some gauge, and I just prefer having that. And then we play 3 copies of Batzz X Link. This is arguably the most broken spell in Dragon World, period. It is literally my new favorite spell in Dragon World. So, Batzz X Link. You may only cast this card if your cards have attacked 3 times or more during this turn. Link attacks count as 1, keep in mind. Counter. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Put one among them into your hand. Put the rest into your gauge, and you gain 1 life. And you may only cast Batzz X Link once per turn. This card is amazing because it can be splashed into any Dragon World deck. I'm in the process of getting more of these for my 5th Omni deck. This card is absolutely amazing. You can be at 1 gauge, cast this, add your impact to your hand, and cast it. It is that good. It literally sets up for your impact, it gives you search power, and it's absolutely amazing. I love this card. You might be saying, if you love it so much, why not max out at 4? You do have to play some other spells to protect your field, but I completely understand wanting to play 4 copies of this card. And I have 4 copies of this card, you know, but, and I'm going to get a second playset for 5th Omni, but, I feel 3 is enough considering all the other draw power that we have in this deck. Next, we play 2 copies of Dragon Spell Hiding Bomber. This is just a very, very good card for Dragon World and Magic World because it's a hybrid spell. It can only be cast on your opponent's turn. It has a cast cost of 1 gauge. And then counter. Return a monster with 5,000 or less defense to its owner's hand, or destroy it. So, really good card. So, if you're playing in a mirror match against bots, you can bounce their bots back to their hand, because keep in mind, bots can't be destroyed during your turn. You can also use this to return your own bots if they try to attack over it. You can kill one of their monsters. I mean, it's just a good, versatile card. And then 2 copies of Drago Desperate. This is a little tech of my own that I haven't seen any other Thunder Empire players play, and I really like it. It is kind of like Drago Energy. You may only cast this card if your monster in your left or right is being attacked, which is always going to be the case because this is an open center deck. Counter. Choose one of your monsters in battle. Give it plus 5,000 power and plus 5,000 defense, and give it counter attack. So it can pretty much save almost any of your monsters in most situations, so I like it a lot. And then finally, we play 4 copies of Thunder Lance X Tempest Buster. This is our new impact. It has replaced Gargantua Punisher as the go-to impact for Dragon World. You may only cast this card if your opponent's life is 5 or less. Your cards have attacked 3 times or more during this turn, and neither you nor your opponent has a monster in the center. Link attacks again only count as 1. Cast cost, pay 3 gauge. Deal 5 damage to your opponent. This card cannot be nullified, and the damage cannot be reduced. If your opponent's life would become 0 by this card, it cannot be changed by your opponent's cards, which means they can't revive out of it. They can't use the Darkness Dragon Force. They can't use Dragon Dry. They can't use set spells that say sack this off, mill a top card of your deck. If it's a spell card, your life becomes 2. None of that works. If you can cast this on your opponent, they win. They lose. And the fact that you only have to deal them basically 5 damage yourself and only get 3 attacks off that don't have to be successful, keep in mind. You just have had to have made 3 attacks is really, really good. And it's basically Gargantua Punisher. They basically took Gargantua Punisher. They took 1 gauge off its cost. They added +1 to its damage, and they made it to where you can't revive out of it, and they added the requirement that you must make at least 3 attacks. But considering Batzz is a double attacker, Fillet is a double attacker, you have an item that's a double attacker, and you have a size 1 that's a double attacker, it is very easy to get 3 attacks off in this deck. So, anyway, I believe Thunder Empire decks should max out on this at 4 because it is just too good not to. So that is my Dragon World Batzz deck profile. I am so glad I have this finished. I really, really like Batzz. It is a lot of fun to play. This deck is extremely aggressive. It is, like I said, probably the most aggro deck that Dragon World's ever had. I'm really excited to see where Batzz goes as a character and as a deck. I will say the thing that really makes this deck nice is the thing that Dragon World, if they were missing anything, was a consistent way to draw and add cards to their hand, and this fixes all of that. They gave us Globes and Pentar, which lets us draw more cards, and they gave us Bots X Link, so they gave us so many ways to just add cards to our hand, search more, draw more, and speed up our hand and our deck thinning, which is absolutely amazing. I can't say enough about this deck. It is easily one of my favorite decks to be playing right now. And just, is it me or Batzz with all this red hair? Couldn't he pass for Zorark's cousin, Zorark, the Pokemon, you know, the shadowy fox Pokemon that can turn into any other Pokemon? I mean, with that hair, I mean, that looks like Zorark to me. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and I hope that you'll leave some comments and your thoughts below. I'd really like to hear what you think. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video for me, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time.